What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to this episode of Split Screen D&D, the place where we're attacking all things Dungeons & Dragons from both sides of the screen. My name's Tom Quinn, resident Dungeon Master here at Modern Myth.
And I am Josh Winans, resident player character here at Modern Myth. So, Thomas, I don't know if you're way more connected into the D&D world than I am, but even in my remote corners of my obscure areas of the world, the open game license has been a rather tumultuous waters to be treading in the D&D sphere.
Hot topic right now.
And let's be honest, there are far more smart people who are getting into the nitty-gritty of what that means. But I think what I would like to talk about today is, hey, why does it matter? Why are we making such a big stink over this OpenGL thing?
Okay.
So I think it'd just be good just to as a community acknowledge why this is a hill worth dying on.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. Before we die on that hill, and maybe we even come out victorious.
And yes, small channel versus all hail one D&D.
You know, here's the deal. Crazier things have happened, man. Every now and then you roll a crit. Every now and then,
That's true.
But before we die on that hill, and we're going to die on that hill, we hugely appreciate all the support, you guys. We are just getting ready to round out the season here and move into season 2 of Split Screen D&D. You guys have been awesome and along for the ride. We hugely appreciate it. Subscriber count's been growing. We hugely appreciate those shares. Smash that like if you want to support us directly. You can do so through our patreon.com. I will make one brief note regarding Patreon is going into 2023, really I should say going into season 2, we will be doing a big Patreon overhaul. We will be releasing some content to explain all of that. We finally are in a position to make some big announcements on that side and to really start having the means to say a proper thank you through some really cool perks and things like that. So I'm really excited about that. But mum's the word for just a little while longer.
They'll never tell.
Oh, I'll never tell. That's not the creepiest. That's not the creepiest thing a teacher can ever say.
This is never mind. We're gonna let that one die now.
Let's just roll.
Let's
roll with it. Talk with me a little bit about OGL and specifically for this conversation, those parties who may be in the crosshairs of whatever it is, whatever pivot Wizards makes with regard to how they're going to manage third-party content. And I think that really that kind of ends up being the backbone, right, for this conversation is the importance of those third-party creators.
Right.
Let's get into it, man. What is
it? Well, okay. I'm not even going to make a comment about like the rumors and the things we hear because it seems to be changing like every other day, and I don't want this to be.
There's way too much speculation going on. There. I think we'd probably speculate, right? I'm just going to say, I think anyone who has seen a massive corporation handle a beloved franchise,
which I want to get into,
knows how badly they're going to spike that baby just before getting to the end zone.
But it's so true. We'll talk about that because this is not the first genre who has played this game. Yeah. But all right, why do we care? What does third party or this OpenGL license buy us as a community? And I think it's a simple answer. It's the reason why I play D&D. It's fun. Increases the fun factor. It makes you have some very talented people at Wizards, all right? And they are really good at game design and they come up with some amazing things. But when you have access to millions, nay, billions of people, which we're not there yet, but I mean just the amazing minds that are available that you're saying all of a sudden by taking away the OpenGL license, no, you can't pursue this anymore. You're losing out on so much opportunity and possibility.
Yeah. I guess given that there is so much speculation there, and I think I'm trying to remember someone has already touched on kind of some of the true OGL implications, and I think that. I do think that even if Wizards chooses to move into one D&D space with no open game license, the amount of impact that would actually legally have is not the extent of like suddenly people can't publish anything.
But even if it just dissuades someone from doing it.
Well, I think I completely agree. But I just wanted to clarify. I want to say I think maybe it's Questing Beast who was touching on it, and he was touching specifically on what the OGL does and does not allow.
Yeah,
and ultimately the ramifications may not be as extreme.
That's what I'm hearing as well.
But to me, it's a tonal and a temperamental thing that when a company goes, hey, all of you awesome content creators out there, both like actual supplemental content, someone's publishing content creators in the YouTube space. I mean, I really haven't given any consideration. Again, like people our size, channels our size, I don't think have to worry. Like we fit between the toes as the giant foot.
What are you talking about? Man, we are the foremost leaders on D&D.
We are the foremost thought leaders of basically everything Dungeons and Dragons. No, but I really do think that if you are you're a YouTube channel who's literally, engaging in this style content, just having conversations about Dungeons and Dragons, it's not a good feeling to have that company kind of looking around at the vibrant community of content creators who are, sure, they are leaning on their product in the pursuit of the content they're making, but in doing so, they're enhancing that. It's a symbiotic relationship.
That's the thing. It's a family.
And I would actually argue that in that exchange, Wizards actually gains more than they lose by a substantial margin.
That's what I don't understand is I think they're trying to get what I'm hearing lately is less bad is what I thought it might be, but regardless, it's they're shooting their foot off trying to get like every penny they possibly can. Why don't you let it grow naturally and you'll see more profits in the long run?
And the crazy thing is that's precisely what's happened for 50 years. I mean, don't get me wrong, the game is wildly different than it was then. It's gone through many iterations, but there's a part of the reason a franchise continues to be loved for 50 years is because the type of decision making that again isn't going hard and fast, but seems to be nodded towards it, not just with the OGL, but with phrases like I don't know, I this isn't verbatim, but I'm going to paraphrase. Dungeons and Dragons is a grossly under-monetized product.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone to wag a finger at a business or a corporation. It's precisely their job to maximize profits. That's what their job is. But that company is made up of, or at least was at some point. I'm not that up on the entire staff of WotC, but you're talking about a group of people who are supposed to be the stewards of this franchise. And I think these types of nods begin communicating to the broader community that the corporation is winning out over the gamers.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels
within
like.
The company.
Yeah, because it's happened so many times in the video games. It feels like the company's more interested in the quarterly report than the community, like the company as growth as a whole. I mean, how many companies are starting to crash and burn because they're just trying to capitalize on a name? I mean, God, I don't know how many times FIFA is going to release the same freaking game before people catch on. But besides FIFA, I mean, there's
I've never been a big FIFA fan. It's too redundant. I'm more of a Madden guy.
Yeah, there we go. Once they started institute buying the teams like with real money, that's when they grabbed me. That's what I want to be a part of.
There you go.
But I mean, again, it's easy to go down that path of but I want to focus more on the
third party.
Yeah.
Let's make a conscious effort to pivot right now. Like I said, I really do think this conversation is happening. In the eclipse of that bigger conversation.
It's kind of hard not to see it.
But with that pivot in mind, hit me with. Could you lay out some hard and fast ways in which you have felt the touch of third party content that where you can kind of go, my game my understanding of the game, anything is greatly improved because the third party has been allowed to flourish the way that they have been since third edition.
Holy cow! I mean, from just a pure player standpoint, you have so many classes being released and subclasses, and people just thinking of wild and crazy ideas and putting it on paper. And I won't lie, as some of them I'm like, that's not for me.
Right.
But I might glean a little bit, and then that inspires me to do something else. It plants the seed, and just my yes, I'm on Pinterest. My Pinterest feed will be just alight with just.
You got a Pinterest, dude?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, trust me. Everything else is super manly and like of building fires and stuff.
I've just got a bunch of pictures of men with axes and giant piles
fully
of
clothed
wood on
men.
fire.
I'll have you know, but
hey, it's Tuesday, baby.
It's
you
Tuesday.
do what you want to do.
I know it's Tuesday.
All right,
but just like I'll click on there'll be, and I'll just click on it, and I'll suddenly get my juices in my brain flowing in other places, and it's that feeling that you are free to explore and create in this wonderful world.
Yeah.
Even if you don't grab verbatim what people are saying, it's just the community is just so rich and vibrant and alive and organic and everything you want it to be, that you feel like a part of it.
Yeah.
It's a really cool, for such a once upon a time you whispers and hush hush I play D&D, to suddenly being, man, I had my step brother-in-law is asking me questions about D&D, and this is a dude who would never ever ask questions about D&D.
That dude's a nerd.
No, he's hardcore.
Oh, you mean
not?
You mean former Marine?
No, he's a nerd, but that guy's a nerd. This is
different.
This is yeah. I don't know if you've met this guy,
okay.
but yeah, he
right.
watched Stranger Things. It was like, hey, they play D&D. Don't you play D&D?
Yeah, what's crazy, I've heard so many people talk about Stranger Things being a catalyst into the hobby.
Yeah.
I've never met anyone who got into the hobby because of that. I can see, because it was, apparently a phenom of a television enterprise, if you want to call it that. No, that's interesting. That's the first person I've heard firsthand.
Yeah, he's asking questions who would I think in previous would have shunned me and been like, "Well, you freaking weirdo playing D&D."
We should cameo him in, and then I'll be just.
He asked one question. I'm not willing to.
I'll just iron fist him right on. I'll be like
Tuesday.
Jesus. All right, let's get on track here.
But no, the whole point is that the whole community is growing to such a point that like people who never I thought would have ever asked questions about this hobby are now starting to ask questions. We're at a precipice of going up. We keep going up, and then all of a sudden, why would you ever want to start limiting this amazing explosion of thoughts and ideas?
Yeah, I completely agree. And in fact, as you were saying that, I was thinking about that space. I'm not a big fan of like using the term "the community" around Dungeons and Dragons, but I guess that's what it is. The third party that is producing content for Dungeons and Dragons. So much of this maps to the game world itself, where because a lot of the phraseology you were using about being free to explore that space, being free to, kind of so much of this mapping to in-game phraseology that currently, or at least for, again, since third edition or so, all of these content creators have been granted the agency to explore aspects of the game that they felt weren't as fleshed out as they needed to be, and they solved that problem. And to many regards, I think there's a lot of correlations that can be drawn to open sourcing software, to the modding community on the video game side of things,
yes.
or
if
just
you want to start going down that train, yeah.
Well, I certainly think that there's some parallels to be drawn, but it struck me as interesting. And the more I think about it, the more I think that if WotC is sort of the DM to this vast player base of third-party content creators, when one of your players goes, hey, look at this thing I've been super passionate about and I'm creating, and you look over at them and you go like, make any money on that?
That
That's a bad
dirty.
feeling as a DM. That's a bad,
Yeah.
and that does not encourage agency. That does not, it's like I said, the as you were saying it, the more I was thinking about it, the more I was going, this feels like the transition from kind of the fun, benevolent DM who's there to facilitate a cool party to the DM it's their world. It's not your world to contribute to. It's our world.
Ooh.
And I will let you know what is and isn't going. And don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for DMs to say, I'll let you know what can and can't.
But if that's the overall feeling.
And I think, like I said, I think that there's something to that. I really think that.
Ooh, I like that parallel you just drew.
So I think
WotC's basically DMs.
WotC's the DM. I mean, if there's such thing as a DM of I mean, they're the ones at least attempting to pass down the official lore and the way things are going to be. And
so from my side as a player, it's the freedom and just the explosion of creativity as a player that I love about the community and the OpenGL. But as a DM, what do you feel is like?
Frankly, as a DM, I mean, when I think about the third party, that space, it's the quality. It's and again, as you said, I mean, I don't know the roster at WotC, but one thing that I will say, this is purely subjective, but I think there will be a few people who will echo it in the comments. Is I have seen, and increasingly so now that I've started Myth Makers, which is going to be picking back up here now that the New Year's come around. I'm getting my hands on more and more third-party content that I'm getting to look at, and I am blown away, floored, appreciative of all of the hard work that's going into it. And I'll say, I don't know that I've been given a third-party book to read over for Mythmakers or otherwise, where I have been as underwhelmed as I have, frankly, with the last few or even last 5 years worth of WotC publications. And
Gauntlet
thrown. And like I said, I'm sure that there are people at that company who are very passionate about what they're doing, and I'm not intending to throw shade by and large.
No, I'm pretty sure you want to start a fight, fist fight,
old
school.
But I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat or skew my opinion on it. Every third party piece of content that I've looked at has far and away impressed me more than the official content that I've looked at. For honestly, maybe since the core rulebooks. I mean, and. Or at least it's like
I understand what you're saying.
Even if I rolled back to where I was really enthralled with the content, this third party content is as good.
Yes.
And so I feel like from a content creation side of things, there's been this if you were to graph it, there's been this inverse correlation of this stagnation and this slide by way of the content that WotC's been putting out. And I can't say that there's been a climb on the third party because I don't, it could be that they've just been producing great quality content. The nature of producing content that likely isn't going to make you any money, or maybe will make you very little money, means you're doing it because you love doing it.
Right.
And that results in good content.
Right.
And that's the fundamental difference. The third party, by and large, there's so many pieces of content that are coming out, that's someone who might see a couple $100 over the course of the entire life of that publication.
Which, hey,
and they still produced it.
Right.
And I think that speaks volumes compared to, again, the kind of nod that we're getting of what have you done for me lately, third party.
Well, yeah, and it's like I'm thinking of supply and demand, right? So there's a demand for quality D&D, and at the beginning, if I'm hearing what you're saying, because I would never ever cross all the WotC community, like. They're basically gods, but
all hail one D&D.
All hail one D&D. But at the beginning, they were supplying that quality content, and the demand started going down. And then the third party rose to meet that demand for quality, and now luckily we'll see what ends up happening. But the danger is instead of WotC being like, you know what, we need to supply this high quality product, they squinch the third party, so just the quality overall goes down.
Yeah, well, I think based on the trajectory that we've seen, now I have no idea. Maybe part of this initiative is that WotC's drafting in a bunch of great new minds, maybe even from the third party. But what it comes down to is we've seen this cycle so many times.
So many times.
Of a product, a beloved product,
yes,
being released, running its course, and I'll say it doesn't even have to be that the owners of that product have failed it in some way. But as it has begun to run its life, there are so many examples, and I'll specifically nod kind of in the video game industry.
Yeah,
I think there are many examples where you have a group of people, and again, fueled by their love of that product, and this I think is key, because by this point, especially if we're talking about D&D in the 5th edition ethos right now, or transitioning into the 1 D&D ethos.
I'll have 1 D&D.
That there are many things being said by higher ups at WotC that lead you to believe that they don't love this product, or at least if they do, they're having to weigh that against loving making money with this product.
That's what it feels like. It's all about the money.
And I think that with the third party, again, nodding to the modding community and the PC side of things, these are the groups of people who are so infatuated with that product. They've played it through 400 times. They know the nooks and crannies that should have been filled out by the original developer. Right. And they come in and give that product a second life. And I think to some extent, the third party has kind of done this for 5th edition. Now, I know you had some numbers with regard to the actual, kind of the financial implication that they had. And I think it serves both points. I think
I can rattle it. I got this from a nerd immersion. Hats off to that fine fellow. I think he read somewhere that is the total percent of money made compared to an all D&D, 1%
is third party. So I have two things to say about that. One is, the question of what is WotC's motivation in doing this? Do they need that 1%?
That's what it feels. Nickel and diming us is what it feels like.
But I also think that there's a very real possibility. I think that the amount that I have gleaned from other systems, from third-party supplements, from ones that admittedly I don't own. It's someone I know owns that book, and it's like I'll be reading through and I'll go, bing, like I love that. Like I have to have that.
You get your inspiration from everywhere.
And
absolutely.
And I think that's something that the third party certainly suffers from by percentage more than a big company who can protect their assets more. So I think I'll say in the 100% pie chart of the value that I'm finding in third party content, they are swinging so far above their weight class in terms of, if I'm easily getting, I couldn't even quantify it, but I'm getting way more than 1% of utility tools, ideas, concepts from the third party.
Well, and here's you can correct me if I'm wrong about the history of D&D.
You are. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks, DM.
Wow, I didn't. It's about the DM reflex. Sorry, I forgot we're in the real world.
Real world, ish. But Pathfinder kind of started from the
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that fracture, and frankly, kind of like we've touched on, WotC hasn't committed anything hard and fast anywhere. There's been talk about, is it going to be a subscription model for their VTT?
Gosh,
there's been talk about.
We need to talk about the video game because God, how many times have we heard this dance at this point?
But they've the fact of the matter is there is a miasma around WotC right now, and people can feel it. Mm-hmm. People can feel that the waters have been chummed and the sharks are out in them.
Yep.
And what I think is, like I said, so they made 180 all of this and everyone goes back hunky dory.
I highly doubt it.
I doubt it. But the fact of the matter is the way that they're talking about this thing that people love is a way that doesn't communicate that same level of love and respect for the product. And kind of as they're doing that, I think that that's enough that I'm hearing people on social media. I'm hearing people in the comments. I'm hearing people going, if this happens and this happens, I'm gone. If this happens, I'm gone. If this happens, and these are people who are. I mean, these are
major.
These are red-blooded 5e players. They're not. Yeah. They're not. This isn't someone who's already on their exit path, and that's exactly what I think it is. I think WotC is if they realize some of our worst fears for the tone and tenor moving forward, I think that they very seriously risk another splinter,
right?
And that splinter will be owned by the third party.
Yes.
And quite frankly, I'm not sure. The more as I'm saying it, I almost kind of love it. Like there's a part of me,
and I agree. I agree with certain parts of it. The problem, the reason why I'm not like yes, is because it has been the D&D and TTRPGs are at an upward climb because everyone's hitching on the back of 5e.
Yep.
And so the hobby as a whole has been benefiting. And to suddenly shoot ourselves in the foot to make an extra $5 is I just can't get on.
We won't see that $5.
Ah,
they'll shoot us in
or patreon.com/modmyth.
But yeah, I mean, no, I catch your point, and I do think, I mean, when we were talking about the I think it was the Y5E video that we did, something that we touched on was, you can hate 5e. You might play it and go, this is not for me.
Yeah, but
I don't like it.
Not deny.
But there's no denying that there are people who are playing Call of Cthulhu right now. There's people who are playing OSR. There's people who are playing. I mean, OSR is so many things, but there's people who are playing, more obscure titles than 5th edition right now because they came into the hobby through 5th edition's footprint, and so I can agree to that point. Frankly, I don't know that I live out the next true edition war. I don't. Because maybe it's because I'm a pessimistic asshole. That could be it. But
probably.
I think there's a very good chance that I remain in the 5th edition space or even elsewhere.
Well, ideally that we're supposed to be able to. Everything's supposed to be backwards compatible.
Right. But I'm saying there's no way I'm signing on for a VTT. There's no way I'm.
God,
that's just.
No.
I mean, I just don't see value there. If you see value in it, great, more power to you. But so it's just kind of a deal where that pivot. So there's a part of me that's like, this will be my, from here until as long as my career in tabletop RPGs. For me personally, not for the hobby. And I agree that those are two very different things. I would love to see the hobby flourish.
Right.
But for me personally, it may not be the worst thing in the world for WotC to realize all of our concerns and have this splinter break off that is so loved and nurtured by people who are there for those reasons.
Right.
And frankly, I think the argument could be made that the TTRPG space is richer because Pathfinder exists now.
Oh,
I mean,
really
it's kind of a forest fire, so to speak.
You're not wrong there.
And so, that's not to say that
Yeah.
There's a potential to lose momentum there, but I definitely think, and when I first heard about this, my mind immediately went to, the people whose livelihoods are tied into what they produce for 5th edition. And again, since then I've learned that the likelihood of them really getting kiboshed is pretty low, even if WotC chooses
wants to do a royalty kind of a thing with
yeah. But it's still just a deal where, again, my mind goes to dungeon coach. My mind goes who has moved full time now.
Yeah.
My mind goes to
who has produced so much amazing.
Flat out, I will say if you're a 5e person and you are not actively perusing Dungeon Coach's library or any of his other content, you are missing out. Some of my favorite 5e specific publications.
100%.
But Kobold Press.
That's the big boys now. We're talking about and then of course,
but
what's that?
It's still
Critical
a deal.
Role. I think you've heard of them once or twice.
Yeah, I've heard of those guys. No, I mean but it's a deal where these outfits that are publishing this now, and I haven't seen their financials. I don't know what, but I do know that there's going to be some people who are on that line. They're big enough that WotC's going to go, hey, bud, and that little bit of a difference might be it. And that's terrible. To me, someone who's invested their livelihood into producing something they love and care about for this broader
enrich the community.
That's what really concerns me. And like I said, I think there are many that are big enough to weather that storm if it comes. Yeah. There are many who are way too small. They'll just exist between the snowflakes as they're
right.
But my concern is those people who land right in that space, because if you've gotten to the space where you're going to be, where WotC's going to care that you're there, that's your livelihood. You've invested your life into that project. Yeah. It's not a weekend warrior thing. This is what you're doing.
But it could be I don't know. Do you want to hit on at all? I feel like we're getting to a point where, man, we've just been ranting, I feel, which I'm fine. I love ranting.
It's kind of a ranty episode.
It is ranty.
But you don't mess with the third party, man. We said we're dying on this hill.
We are.
We're fitting between the snowflakes. Let's be real.
No, dude, we're not even between the snowflakes, man.
There's atoms floating around us.
We're so on the periphery. But if you want to help us not be on the periphery, I do feel like it's important to recognize that this is not the first time this has happened, and that video games, I feel, is the most obvious. Just to hit on, for those of you who aren't aware of how much, man, it has almost destroyed video games for me for a long time. I still play games 3 or 4 years. I haven't gotten into anything recently, pretty much, and I'm a pretty avid video gamer.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, let's add to that you're raising a
yes, I'm a father, and therefore my video game time is precious. But
no, but I catch your point. I think there was, and I think luckily there were a number of developers and publishers who saw how badly that was received and started trying to stomp that fire out. But
the song and dance they're doing, I've seen so many times before. They push out something super controversial, and they wait for the response. The response is, you dare push against their OpenGL? Oh my gosh, how could you do that? Then oh, we would never do that. No, we love our third party. And then they'll continue to push and push and push. And they're going to find the exact line that they can to push as far as they can. And then that's where they'll slowly, it feels so dirty.
Yeah. But I think with regard to the fact that you're describing, I think, precisely what a corporation, what a company is supposed to do.
I don't feel like that's what a company like this company is supposed to do.
Well, I think that's what any company is supposed to do. I would hope that that's tempered by
if you live and die by the quarterly report. If you live and die by the success of the company, I think it's a different question.
Well, yeah. But I think finding the line where they can keep their stakeholders very happy and not torch their product.
Yeah, is a line.
But
it's I don't know. It just feels like such a familiar song and dance. I just don't like it.
Yeah, and I think that's why this has struck a nerve. I mean, because I think there's so many people in their bones who are seeing the writing on the wall and going.
I used to love Bethesda. Used to love Skyrim. Oh man, I'm a Fallout man. I played 1, I played 2, I played 3, New Vegas, 4. Never played 76, but evidently it's free out right now on PlayStation 4. I'll give it a spinny spin. But it's been a slow degradation. 2 was New Vegas was fucking dope. I don't know if you ever played New Vegas.
I didn't play New Vegas.
Oh,
I
New
played all
Vegas
the way
is-
through 3.
But then think
I
that
didn't play 4
wasn't
though.
that wasn't Bethesda. That was a New Obsidian, I think, released that one. But like, it's such a familiar song and dance that I'm just. Why can we not learn? And because they're having to learn. Bethesda's having to learn. Like, hey, we fucked up hard. Cannot WotC look at Bethesda and be like, hey, let's not do what they did?
Well, so here's my question with regard to that, and I don't know that you know the answer.
I know everything, dude. I'm the player character. If not, I'll make shit up until I makes it. You know?
No, now you're describing the DM.
No, I'm a bard.
Oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Do you know? Because I don't offhand.
Yeah.
What has that done for the bottom line of Bethesda? I mean, I get as a player, it's like, ugh, that sucks. But
I hate to say, as long as he re-release Skyrim at least another 2 times,
they're going to be in the
fucking dude. I swear to God. Yeah.
So I mean, that's because I think that's ultimately, like I said, if they're looking at that bottom line and it's not getting hammered, they go, we're doing okay. We're doing all right with this. And because they don't give a shit about the player.
Yeah.
Like if they're still buying DLC, it means that they've appeased them enough that, you know, that
yeah, let's I haven't bought it on the PlayStation 5 yet. You can't, you know, I need to buy Skyrim again. Though I'm not gonna lie, I've thought about buying Skyrim again, dude. Like with all the
like which Skyrim do you currently own?
I don't own any.
Oh.
I own Xbox 360. That was my last Skyrim.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you've had a rollover. See, I'm a PC guy, so I don't know. Like,
yeah, you don't.
I still own my Skyrim from like way back. Way back
PC
when. And I've got all the mods, so I basically own the newest one too.
Dude, do you know what mod I always wanted to play?
What?
Where you could change the dragons to the train. What's that train?
Oh, the Thomas the Tank
Thomas the
Engine.
Tank. Oh God, I really wanted to play that mod. Of all the
right.
mods.
If you ever wondered what it's like to be at our table, yeah, I think you just got a little bit of a sneak peek.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm that guy at your table, by the way.
No, I think getting back on the rails, and I think we've kind of I think we've kind of outlined the concerns, and it really I think outlined the value within that third party. I don't want to cut you off because I'm about to pivot to these guys at home, but
oh yeah, well maybe this is a sum up point.
Okay, great.
What is your greatest fear about
period?
Yeah, crickets. Fucking hate crickets. But no, I mean like D&D, like all the directions you're seeing, all those what are you like, man, I really hope they don't do this because X.
This is gonna be a little bit weird to say because I mean we've got the channel, we play a shitload of D&D. Frankly, I don't give a shit what WotC does.
You.
My fear.
That's the best place to be. Actually.
My fear would be for the people who have invested a certain amount of their livelihood into a space that might get squashed. But frankly, I mean, if they go, yep, no OGL, and just so you know, we're going to pursue legal action for anyone who's, if they really came out like guns blazing, being dicks, I would be like, I don't think that impacts me much. I mean, unless they're coming after 500 subscriber YouTube channels, we're going to be okay. But I mean, I think the damage that they're going to do fundamentally is to themselves, but in the process, I do think that they've got the potential to step on a lot of people who have probably worked for years to get to the place where they could call this their career.
Right.
And like I said, who knows how it's going to play out? Right. But I'll pitch it back to you if there's a major concern that you have for WotC's course of action.
Well, my biggest concern, and maybe I think you brought up a good point. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever the frick they want. I am me. I have autonomy. I have their books. I can play this game as long as I want and do whatever I want with it. But it's the longevity of the game. I would love to play D&D with my daughter. My daughter's 2 right now, so that
you got a little ways to go.
Ways to go, but to play that game to play this with her would be just so much fun for me, and the lessons that can be imparted upon the next generation through tabletop RPGs, and maybe it's the teacher in me coming out right now, but like the fact that what they're doing right now might negatively impact that,
Yeah, well, I think it might negatively impact it for if your daughter was at the age where she was wanting to get into the hobby herself.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, again, like I can't see a world, because I'll echo that completely. I mean, I cannot wait to be able to play the game and like see what kind of weird shit's coming out of my kids' heads when, you know, and there's not one iota of anxiety in my body about. There's nothing that WotC can do that's
such a good point.
Impedes me from being able to run the game for my kids.
You bring up such a good point.
So
that's
like
such
I
a
said,
good point.
I will say my hat is off to all of those who currently are in that third party space.
Yes.
Whether these types of conversations, that the ongoing dialogue with WotC is going to have an immediate impact on you or not. Keep doing the awesome work that you're doing in that third party space. I'll guess no time like the present to plug, if you have a third party publication and you want it featured on Mythmakers, you can get us in the comments. But so my hat's off to you guys there. And for those of you who are potentially in the blast radius of this thing, my thoughts are with all you guys. Like I said, I know, the people that I know who are in that third party space are so passionate about what they're doing.
That's the thing.
So I really hope that most of this is kind of smoke and mirrors, and when it all settles, ultimately nothing happens. But only time will tell.
Only time will tell. But you know what? Until then, we'll do a classic sign off.
I want to do a sign off that goes something like this.
Okay.
WotC thinks the world is theirs. WotC thinks the world is theirs.
Hell no.
The world is yours.
Remember that.